Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and we're going to preview some of the reels that came in this week. Some of them are actually just a result of a friend of mine going out to some garage sales and that, and some of them are going to be customer reels. So let's jump into this and show you what we have, and we'll see what we're going to do here. So the first box I think was a $10 box or a $15 box. It wasn't much. Most of the reels don't work. I call these tuition reels. I like to take them apart. If I can put them back together again, I like to do that, get them out fishing. And if I can't do that, then what I like to do is just make it a video of it just so everybody understands. So the first one up is a smaller reel that was made in Japan, probably in the 1970s. Not a sophisticated bail at all. It's what I call a hammer bail. It'll just come over and hit the button here and snap that bail. I noticed that it's rough riding and that somebody has shaved off the anti-reverse click. Well, actually there's a pin probably that fell out of that. But we'll see if that's the cause of this problem or if there's another cause like a missing tooth. And if it's worthwhile, we'll try and do a video on that. Here's a second one that came in. This is a Spinjoy. Again, kind of the same setup. It's got a just the basic bail that's going to release here. This is an older one. This one was also made in Japan, and this one's frozen. So we'll take this apart and see why it's frozen, and if we can unfreeze it. And that's probably one of these just probably lays around the shop when people ask about an example of a reel from the 1960s or the transition over in the 70s to manufacturing reels in Japan. Spinjoy kind of sounds like a trade name, so I'm not sure who made the reel or anything about it. So again, it's an education to be learned. Then I have two of these. These are, this one's a Pflueger, I believe. No, this is an Ocean City 520. This one seems to be running okay. So this one certainly will get repaired and or cleaned up and put out there. And I don't think I've done a 520, so maybe we'll do a video on that. And this one's probably the same thing, just missing the badge. And this one seems to work as well. So the more I get into a lot of these different oddball reels, some of them just purchased for the sake of making a video, the more I appreciate the simplicity in these. They're direct drive reels. There's no free spool release. They're going to go either way when you go to cast them. And generally just a single big drive drives a little gear on the spool and everything works fine. So we got two Ocean Cities that are working here. Here's a fly reel. I don't do much with fly reels, but this is a fly reel. This one is by Ocean City as well. This is an Ocean City 36 made in Philadelphia. And I'm not sure why, but it's not cranking. I'm sure there's something just jammed inside there. We'll take the side plate off. We'll go figure it out. And I have this one. I think this is the treasure of the whole piece. You can't see what the brand is because the tag is missing both there and on the side. But this happens to be a Roddy. It's a gyro reel. I think if you looked at it initially, you'd say, gee, the bail is busted or broken, but it actually happens to be a bailless reel, a manual bail kind of a setup on this one. This one's working. So I think for the $10 or $12 that was paid for the box, that this reel by itself is worth that. And the rest of them will be nice project reels. In addition to that, it looks like I have a little, I have a Compass Fury 3. This one doesn't seem to be working. I don't spend much time on these. We don't fish them here on the Northeast, and quite honestly, they're not worth repairing. You can buy the reels for the price of that. This is a Japanese-made one, and maybe if I get time, we'll go ahead and take it apart and see what it is. And then I got a spool here from something. So, okay. All right, so that's the first set then, and I would say this is the one that will be interesting in that it's a Roddy. It's also made in Japan in the 1970s. And Roddy was best known as a reel rod manufacturer, but here we have a reel by them as well. And we'll see what we can do with that. So that's the first series of boxes. Look for the Roddy, look for the Ocean City 520 as an example of some of the things we're going to do. Next up then is a customer's reel. We've been doing a lot of these reels in a box lately. or a bag. And here we go. We have a reel in a bag. This one is an older Finor. It's a Finor Regal. It's Finor Regal 30, manufactured in Miami. So this is still when Finor was making their products in the USA. I told the owner of this one it's going to be tough. They started taking it apart and kind of got a little bit lost in there. This reel is at least 30 or 40 years old. I can't find the schematic on it, so that's going to make it interesting. But it probably will be the subject of a how to tune it up and put it back together kind of a video. And hopefully we've got all the pieces here, because I imagine at this point in the game that this reel doesn't have any parts availability, especially when you can't find the schematic. And those of you that have been watching my Reel in a Bag series, it seems like I've gotten quite a few in a bag lately. The Reel in a Bag series usually starts by grabbing a schematic so that you can match up the pieces and parts, so that you know what those reels are and what might be missing. Because like a jigsaw puzzle, it doesn't show its full sense if you're missing a piece. Okay, Tom sent these in. These just came in. They're Shakespeare reels. We've got this case is separated here. I'm not quite sure if he started to take these apart or not. This is the ATS, which is the follow-on to the Shakespeare Tidewater. Something isn't working in here. I mean, it's working, but something's kind of odd, and I don't know why this is off like it is, but we're going to take this apart. I haven't done an ATS. I've done a Tidewater. I did a couple of Tidewaters, and as we mentioned, the Okuma Classic series almost has the identical gearing inside. So we'll see what's going on with this one. Probably do a video on that. And then I believe the other one is a Shakespeare as well. Alright, this one is a Shakespeare. It looks like I have the eccentric spring is out on this one. And this is the Shakespeare Tidewater. It seems like it gets about to there and stops. So that's one of two things going on there. It's either a broken idler gear or it's a bad pawl. But one way or another we'll figure that out. And I'm sure that there's a reason why that eccentric spring is in there. That's probably because the free spool release isn't working. So we'll do our best to put that back together again and help Tom out with that reel. And then we got another box that just came in. This was actually an eBay purchase. So every now and then I'll troll eBay. I don't do it much. But in this case I just found something that was pretty good. So this eBay purchase I think was $35 with the shipping. And it's a bunch of reels. And again, sometimes I'm just out there for my own curiosity trying to find reels. And in some cases there's something of interest in there that leads me to do that. So here we go. So we got a box of reels here. I think the closing bid on it was $20 or something. This one I found interesting. It's a Zebco 40th anniversary 33. It's a limited edition. I don't think it works, but I'm noticing that there's line coming out from where line shouldn't be coming out, and that could be jamming it there by itself. But nonetheless, I do have an appreciation for the early Zebco reels. Those of you that know the company know that they created the spin cast as an anti-backlash kind of a proven concept, and it's been very popular even to this day. So we'll see what we can do with that. Here's another one that's kind of looks like a Johnson, but I'm not sure. I don't see a mark on there, but it kind of looks like the Johnson. This one's not working as best I can tell. Okay, then two Shakespeare reels. And these generally I can tune these up, and I have a group of campers that I like to send the reels to, just kind of as donations. That's probably where that'll go. This bail seems to be working okay. We're missing a button on this side. I guess if you're going to go resell this thing, you would probably be concerned about the button. But for campers learning the cast and everything, this reel will be fine. And we're certainly going to do our best to put that together to put that back into use. We have two of those, as I mentioned. This is the second one. This one's a little noisier. Not quite sure why. And the bail doesn't trip. This bail could be a matter of the thing that we had done the other day with the bent bail wire, because it seems like it wants to trip. In other words, the the spring is releasing here, but it's just not closing completely, and I see a gap here, which usually suggests that it's a bent bale wire. So we'll take a look at those. Here's one that I like. I'm just starting to get into these things. This one's missing a handle, but this is the Beige Brown Master Reel. It's by Airex Corporation. That's a New York company. It was a division of Lionel, which was the train maker. This one's missing a handle on that. I have several of these, some in better condition than others, so I'm not sure if this one's going to be a parts reel or if I'm going to put a handle on this one and make another one of those parts reels. I saw a story somewhere along the line. I forget the company that Beige Brown was copying, but there was a French company that had the patent on this, and basically Beige Brown came over to the U.S., put the request in for a U.S. patent against that, and it says patent applied for here. Then they were sued by the French company, and they basically didn't make the reel any longer. Kind of an interesting story. All right, here's another one, $5 reel. Well, at least that's what it says it is. This is another, well, for whatever reason, this does seem to trip the bale, and I just like these overall. So just a word of advice, if you got a reel like this and you're going to be putting it away for a while, give it a line. The line has no value whatsoever. This line has been on this reel for a long time. You can see it's all yellowed and discolored. Makes no sense. And if anything, if that line is wet, or if it's holding some kind of salts on it or things like that, it's going to rot the spool out and the like. So I've done enough videos on the 302 that I won't be doing a video on this one, but know that I enjoy these reels nonetheless, and I'm going to tune this one up. And I may even take this one fishing. This one's, when you're looking for the reels, pay attention to the condition of the reel. In other words, the paint, among other things, right? So there's a little bit of paint scarring here, and other than that, there's a little bit on the rim here, which would be normal wear. The spool seems like it's in good condition. The handle's in good condition. There's not a lot of scraping or banging going on. So this is the type of an older reel, if you're going to start either collecting these things or gain an appreciation for these things, pay attention to the condition. Now, as I mentioned, this whole box, the 3 Heddens and the Beige Brown, were really what I was after. These others will be wonderful donations to a camp. This one was kind of a little bit of a surprise, being the 40th edition, 40th anniversary. I think this reel first came out post-war in 1948, so this said this one was made in 88. But regardless, this one probably has got some value to it, and this one is just kind of fun. I guess I just threw that in there for whatever. But pay attention to the ones. Know what your use is going to be before you go too far down the line, because if you don't have a use, then you've got to understand or discount the pricing on it. Okay, last one up then. I took this one off of a pole. It's one of my personal reels. It's a 350 level line. I was asked by a viewer if I could go back and redo the one that I did. Now, I've been doing these videos for about 2 years now, maybe just a little bit more. Some of those earlier versions aren't focused on the internal workings as good as I've been trying to get them lately, and people tell me I still need to do close-ups on some of these. But I guess they were running into a couple of problems with setting the click dog over here that makes the spiral torsion bar go around. I guess they were running into some trouble seeing that. So I'm going to redo this one as well as an update to that video. So if you have a level line 350, stay tuned for that one. This one is always near and dear to my heart. It's the first reel that my dad bought for me. Not this one. I kind of really beat that one up. But this one is a nice example of a 350, and I'll always hold that as a treasure because as I mentioned, it was the first saltwater reel that my dad bought for me. So and that goes back to the early 1960s. So there you go. Alrighty, so that's a preview of the projects to come. If you have one that's particularly interesting to you, then let me know, and we'll do our best to move that up in the queue. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching.